Hey, this is James from Glaze Life, and welcome to another episode of One Dude and a Review. Today's review will be on The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. The Hobbit is the first movie to be released in 3D HFR, which HFR stands for high frame rate. In this case, this movie was shot in 48 FPS, which stands for frames per second. Normal movies are shot in 24 frames per second. So basically, the picture is more smooth and crisp and just all around looks better. At least it's supposed to. Alright, we're going to jump right into the quick plot run through. I'm going to try to make this quick, even though the movie was 3 hours long, so I'm going to do my best. And I'm going to go ahead and admit this, I had to do a little bit of research on the very beginning of the movie because I kind of was dozing off, and I know that I'm a horrible person for that. Who dozes off during a big blockbuster like this? Well, I did. I don't know why. No excuses. Once I put a piece of gum in my mouth, I was good to go. But at the beginning, I kind of started pulling a little sleeper. And just like any other time, guys, spoiler alert, you've been warned. Here's your warning. Pause. Stop watching if you're scared. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Okay, so if you don't know anything about The Hobbit, this is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So we get to see everything that takes place before the first Lord of the Rings movie. If you have any knowledge of the Lord of the Rings, you know the character Bilbo Baggins. It starts out with a 111-year-old Bilbo Baggins. So it's really cool. We get to see Frodo Baggins for a quick glimpse because this is like right before the events of the first Lord of the Rings. We see Bilbo sit down and he opens up this book that it hadn't been written in, and he starts to write about his adventure that took place 60 years ago. So basically, that's what the film is about. He sits down, he starts writing this book telling a story, and then it flashes back to 60 years before the events of the first Lord of the Rings. You got me? You following me here? Okay, so there's Gandalf the Grey, if you know anything about Lord of the Rings. Gandalf, you know, coolest old dude there is. Gandalf basically makes Bilbo join a group of 13 dwarfs. I believe there's 13. There was a lot of them. He makes them join these dwarfs, and he's going to be the burglar in this grand plot to a trip to the Lonely Mountain, which is basically the home of the dwarfs, or at least it used to be. So he goes along with them to help them, you know, reclaim this Lonely Mountain place. Bilbo is recruited to go there and take back the mountain and its treasure, which now is controlled by this dragon called Smaug. This big old dragon who's like overwatching the mountain. And he's like, I'm the king of the mountain. I'm a dragon. So that's like the main goal of the movie, is like this big adventure to this mountain to go take it back, you know, give the dwarfs a true home. And Bilbo's just kind of like thrown in the mix to this. But that's the grand scheme, but of course there's obstacles along the way. But there's also this main villain in the film whose name is Asgog. He's the leader of the orcs. He's also known as the Pale Orc. And this is something you learn early in the movie, so I'm not giving it too much away. But Asgog, he killed Thror, which is Thorin's grandfather. And Thorin is like the main leader of the pack of dwarfs. So you learn who that is. His granddad was killed by this Pale Orc buddy. Like I said, you learn that off the start, so I'm not giving too much away. So anyways, that's pretty much the movie. That's what it's about. It's this big trip to the Lonely Mountain, and there's tons of action and things that occur along the way. Alright, so let's jump right into the things that I liked about the movie. First thing here is, like I said, I saw this in 3D, 48 FPS, HFR, whatever, and it was amazing. The 3D was done really good. I'm kind of like one of those people who, I'm only going to see it in 3D if you know, the critics are saying it's blown away, life-changing experience. I'm just one, I'm kind of on the edge about 3D. But in this case, it was really cool. 3D was done great. You know, you didn't get that sick feeling or like, you know, the feeling where you want to take off the glasses, get a headache or anything. It was done well. And as far as the frame changes with the 48 FPS, like you can definitely tell it was more crisp, and it like changed the experience a bit. Like everything just flowed so smoothly, and you could tell the difference. And it was a little bit, you know, drawn back, like, oh man, this looks kind of weird, kind of different. But then you get used to it. I guess it's easy to get used to something when you're watching it for 3 hours, but it was really cool. It was awesome. I can't wait to see if you know, Hollywood picks up on this trend of, you know, 48 FPS. And the other main thing I liked was being back in Middle Earth, being brought back to this environment. You know, this universe of Middle Earth is just so satisfying. Especially for those who watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know, you're already familiar with it, but yet there's still so much to learn with these new experiences and things that happen in this installment of The Hobbit. And although it's a prequel, you know, there are still familiar faces if you have watched those previous films. Alright, now I'm going to talk about the thing that I disliked about the movie. It was long and bloated. And bloated is a word that the critics are really using in the reviews I have watched and read, and they nailed it with that one. 3 hours is a very long time. I get that. 3 hours is a long time. You told me a movie's 3 hours, I'm like, dang, dude, I'm gonna get bored. But all the Lord of the Rings trilogies were about that, that 3 hour mark. And, with those, I wasn't really bored or like sitting back like wondering, when they're gonna speed things along. This movie just seemed much longer. Now I know I just got done saying, I love being brought back to this universe, but it was like a little bit too much of Middle Earth. I like you, Middle Earth, but I don't like you that much. And to think they're just gonna stretch the Hobbit series into 3 films total, might be getting a little bored. Alright, now it's time for the T, D, or no C, which stands for theater, DVD, or no C. Definitely gotta see this in the theater. Definitely. There's not even a question. Like, the landscape on a huge screen, with the beautiful effects and just the, like the universe, like I said, you want to see it in a theater style. If you have a theater that you can go to see this in the 3D, 48 frames per second, it's worth traveling there. We had to go 30 minutes, out of the way to go see it because our local one didn't have it. Make the trip. It's definitely worth it. If not, you can see it in IMAX, but you definitely want to experience it inside of a theater. And finally, we're going to wrap this up with the One Dude Review rating. Can I get a drum roll? Anybody? Fine. I give this movie an 8.3 out of 10. A low B. I was satisfied. The Lord of the Rings is probably my favorite trilogy without me thinking too much about, movies. But, like I said, I was very pleased being brought back to this, this universe and the environment that is Middle Earth. But it wasn't phenomenal by any means, because it was bloated. But it's still you still can enjoy it. There's a lot of action and whatnot. Go see it, man. See it in theaters. Do it. Alright, well, thank you for watching this installment of One Dude Review. Tell me in the comments what you thought about The Hobbit. Tell me, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, tell me your thoughts. What is your One Dude Review rating? Check out our new website, glazelife.com. We are so stoked about having a website. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at glazelife. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate all your support. Take it easy. See you next time. Peace. What we're reviewing is Halo 4's campaign story mode. Now, there's two parts of Halo. There's the campaign mode, which is the story, and there's the multiplayer. I'm just going to be focusing solely on the